What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Own the Hunt. Today we're going to be talking about the brand new Adder V2 1280 scope. Stick around. Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for joining me today on Own the Hunt. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. It helps me a ton, guys. Listen, I might sound a little funny. I'm fighting off another cold. I know, shocker. Seems like I can't seem to get away from the sicknesses this year. So bear with me on that, guys. I got to get this review out for you. I know there's a ton of you out there who want to know about this scope, want to know what I think about this scope, and are probably considering purchasing one of these. So if you're in the market for an Adder V2 1280, definitely stick around, check out this review, guys. I'm going to be putting some footage throughout the video as well, so kind of know that's what you guys come here for. But before we get into the review, I do want to give a huge shout out to Logan at Fall River Shooters, you guys. Logan did send this out to the channel for me to test and review, as he has done with a lot of thermal scopes, you guys. And you may have already seen I posted a comparison video comparing this image to the Knockpix Ace H50R, and I got some flack on that, guys. Some of you wish I did a 1280 versus 1280 comparison, and here's the deal: like, I don't have access to all of these scopes to just go ahead and do side-by-side comparisons with. I'll do my best to do a 1280 comparison. I think I may be able to get my hands on another one of these. Unfortunately, this one is sold, and so it's going to be being sent out to a customer actually today. So I need to get this video out, and that's what I'm doing. So without further ado, guys, let's jump into this review. First things first, it is $7,000. That's not cheap, okay? This is not a budget thermal optic. This is a top of the line, very expensive, a lot of money, a lot of time and consideration should go into your purchase if you're looking at one of these scopes. And so hopefully this video can help you either, you know, confirm your thoughts and you go ahead and make a purchase, or you say that's not for me. Either way, guys, I'm here to help. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments down below. I'll be sure to get to all your comments, any of your questions, guys. And if I didn't cover something in this review that you really wanted to know about this scope specifically, definitely ask. Reach out. You can DM me. You can email me. My email is in the description box down below. So what do I think of this scope? Well, I really like this scope, guys. I think it's an awesome scope. It's not for me. I don't think I'll be running this scope. Couple of reasons. It's pretty big. I don't love how large it is. It's definitely not the heaviest of the tube style scopes. I actually weighed the Ace and this side by side. This is lighter. It is bigger, but it is lighter. I have a size comparison for you guys right here. This is my iRay RH50R. You can see noticeably smaller than the Adder V2. But you know, you're talking two very different types of scopes. I'm not going to try to compare them. Just want to give you guys kind of a size comparison. So let's get into the pros of this scope. I have quite a few pros and I do have quite a few cons. So let's cover the pros first. I did take quite a few notes on this scope, so if you guys see me looking down, that is why. So first pro on this scope is it comes with ballistic calculation, which pretty much all high-end thermals are coming with right now. The downside of that, I guess I'll do a pro and con with this, is that the ballistic calculation for this scope has to be done inside the menus of the scope. There is no app that you can plug your data into and then push it to the scope. Most other ballistic calculators that I've used on thermal scopes, you can pretty much do either, but typically there's like a sister app that you can, you know, put your information into and push it to the scope. That is not the case with this scope. I don't necessarily know if that matters. You know, some people like putting in the app. Some people might really love just being able to plug in the data in their scope and run with it that way. I don't really see an issue, but it'd be nice to have both features. Another really cool pro about this scope is you can customize the color palettes that you want. So with this button up here, you can tap it to cycle through color palettes when it's on. And some of you may know that, like, you might accidentally do that. And also some of you may go, well, I only ever want white hot or black hot. Well, in the scope, in the menus, you can actually select the color palettes that you want available to you with a quick press of this button. So like I just disabled all of them and left white hot and black hot enabled, so then I can quickly tap to cycle between white hot and black hot. Pretty cool. I haven't really seen that on any other scopes to date. Another really cool feature, I don't have the eye cup on right now, but the eye cup for this is threaded. So it's not just gonna pop off and fall off on you guys. It does thread into this rear diopter piece, which is a really nice feature. I'm seeing a lot more scopes doing that these days as well. Another pro on this scope, the eyepiece is massive. So they did go to a 2560 by 2560 display. It is very, very noticeable. Huge difference between the last Adder and this Adder V2. That 2560 by 2560 display in this scope is awesome. Very large, very immersive, great experience for the viewer. Something else on this scope that I love is the aluminum lens cover. So they went to an all metal design. It is pretty loose, so you guys may notice that, but I think it's because it's threaded onto this lens. So what you'll notice is you can actually screw it right off the scope, which is kind of cool, I guess. I don't really know why you'd want to, but anyway, that's what it is. When you tighten it all the way, it's kind of like timed perfectly to end up on the side of your scope. That's not good for me because as a lefty shooter, that's in my way. I like to run these down against my rail. I've mentioned that before in my videos. So I run them down against my rail, and that leaves the focus ring fully unobstructed and easy to use, which I love. Next pro on the list, guys, the rangefinder. AGM put the rangefinder in the lens. This is awesome. I love the ingenuity. I love the everything about it. I know this is not AGM's design or idea. I know that there's other scopes on the market doing this, but I do like that they implemented that. It is a very cool technology. I like to see that's where the market's headed, making everything smaller, more streamlined. And what I can tell you is this rangefinder is extremely accurate, and it is extremely responsive. That being, when you go out to get a range, it's going to return range back to you very quickly, very accurately. I really respect that. I am glad that it works as good as it does. The scope has instant playback on video files. What does that mean? Well, if you've owned an iRay scope, such as the RH50R or the Bolt, or even these new Nock Pixes, you know that before you can watch the video on your PC, you actually have to click on it, and it takes a while to either download a temporary file or preview the file before you can actually watch the video. That's a pain in the butt, guys. This AGM scope does not do that. Instant playback, as soon as you plug this into your PC, if you want to preview all the videos before you either copy them over to your computer or delete them, you can do that. You just click on the video, watch it. Yep, this is it. Very good. I don't understand why the iRays do that, but the AGM does not, and I really appreciate that. The album feature in this scope is new to AGM. I have not seen it before. It's really cool. So for me, being a content creator, I want the ability to preview my files or my video files from within the scope. And the album feature in this scope is really cool. So the Nock Pix has what they call their gallery. AGM's calling it the album. Essentially what it is you can browse all of your video files. You can watch them on the scope. And with this big 2560 by 2560 display, guys, it's pretty nice to watch your videos back. One thing that's really cool about this that the Nock Pix doesn't do is you can actually delete those files from within the scope. You just browse to them, you can click delete, it'll ask you, are you sure you want to delete? Hit yes to confirm, or you can cancel and back out. Additionally, you can use the turret up here to fast forward and rewind in your video file, and you can also pause the video by tapping the top turret. That will pause that video for you if you want to like pause it at a certain spot, have a buddy come to the scope and start watching from that spot on. Very cool, very nicely done feature. Everybody knows by now that AGM tube style scopes and even their compact style scopes come with some form of an American Defense mount. This is no different, guys. This has the dual throw lever American Defense Recon mount that is AGM branded. Very nicely done. Very good mounts, guys. This is no secret to the industry now. Most companies are moving to these. Pulsar just went ahead and decided to throw in the American Defense Recon mounts with their new thermion line, the new 60mm line. So it's no secret. American Defense is killing it with scope mounts in the market, and the thermal companies are hopping on board. Another pro that I would say this scope has is the picture-in-picture mode. Is you zoom independently of your main display. This is not new, guys. It's been around for a while, but this scope does it. Basically, it leaves your main display as its base magnification. In this scope, it's a 2.5x. And it magnifies your picture-in-picture independently of that. So, you know, you're gonna be able to slowly in half zoom increments, so half magnification. So this starts at 2.5, your picture-in-picture is gonna start at 5, and then from there you can go up in half number increments, which is really, really nice. Zoom is pretty good, doesn't really take that long to zoom in or zoom out. You can kind of do it quickly with this turret up top. It works really nice. No real complaints there. The reticle options in this scope are not my favorite. I don't really like any of them, if I'm being honest. None of them really like stand out to me as being like, yeah, that's the reticle I want to use. But AGM gives you some really cool reticle options, color changing options. You can change the center dot to be white when you're, say, on heat, or black when you're on heat, and you can kind of change that. You can change the suggested point of impact stuff. So nicely done there. Like, they give you some really cool features and options as a user, but the reticles themselves are not my favorite. One thing I like in this scope is it gives you the ability to really quickly see what your battery situation is. So the battery this scope has an internal battery as well as an 18650 battery that screws in on the side here. This door does take quite a few turns to get off, but it is watertight. Once you get it off, there's an 18650 battery in there. So between the two, you're gonna get around 7 hours of runtime, I would say. And that's pretty solid given, you know, a 1280 scope. The internal battery is going to last you probably 4 of those hours, and then you're going to get the rest from your 18650 battery. Scope does come with 2 18650s, which is awesome, so you do get quite a bit of runtime with this scope. No real issues there. But what I like about the battery indicator is that internally it tells you which battery you're running on, and how much battery is left in each battery, which I do like. So some additional specs I didn't really talk about, guys. This is a sub 18 millikelvin sensor. Gonna handle humidity and fog and poor weather conditions extremely, extremely well. It's gonna cut right through them, no problem at all, guys. 1280 resolution, like we talked about. Image quality is kind of, you know, it's a little up in the air for me. It's an exceptional image. It's very, very nice, very, very clear. It's a little bit sharp, if you ask me. I feel like the image is a little harsh to the eye. It's extremely sharp. I don't know if that's something, you know, it's part of the algorithm that's happening with the image. It's just a little sharp. I don't love it as much as I love some other images I look through. That is 100% personal preference, you guys. As far as image clarity, it's all there. You know, you're going to be identifying animals 1,000 yards, no problem with this thing. Like, it is awesome. You can zoom way in and still have enough clarity to identify. That's really not going to be an issue whatsoever. So let's jump to my list of cons, and I know some of these are going to be triggering for some of you, and that's okay. I want to get the truth out, you know, and kind of, you know, debunk some things that are being said. So the elephant in the room is obviously the 25 hertz display. Okay, this scope has a 25 hertz display. Everything else is either 50 or 60. We even have a 90 out there on the market. So 25 hertz is very low. That is the refresh rate of the display. If you guys aren't familiar, that's your frames per second. So that's how many frames are flashing in front of your eye every second. 25 is pretty low. With that said, guys, AGM is saying like, oh, because it's a 1280 resolution, we can get away with a 25 hertz. Guys, resolution and frame rate are two very different things, okay? That you don't just be able to lower your frame rate because you have a higher resolution. That's not how it works. I don't really know who decided to use that as their explanation, but here's the deal. I think the reality is 25 hertz is usable, okay? It's not bad. It's not a deal breaker. It doesn't make the scope less effective at you know, harvesting animals. It's very good. It's fine. What I do notice is some what I would call screen tearing, and if you guys aren't familiar with that, you can Google that term. It's a very typical term, very well understood. When you move really, really fast with the scope, I'm seeing a little bit of screen tearing, which in turn really makes the image look like a little grainy, kind of. Once you stop or you slow down, it goes right back to that 1280 crisp, beautiful image that you see. That's what I see in this scope, guys. I don't think it's an issue. it is what it is, okay? Compared to a 60 hertz, you know, you put this 25 hertz next to a 60 hertz, you can absolutely tell the difference. On the 60 hertz display, you get that super buttery smooth image. It just stays smooth, beautiful throughout. With the 25 hertz, you get a little bit of degradation. I don't know how else to put it, guys. It is what it is. Like I said, it's a non-issue, right? It's a non-issue, but factually, I have to address that. So, does it make the scope suck? No, not at all. The scope is awesome. So another con for me on this is the video transfer time within the app, okay? If you are someone who likes to transfer videos using the app onto your phone, this is very slow. It's not alone in the market as far as slow transfer times in the app. I could pretty much name every scope on the market, and they all have slow transfer times within the app. It's just a matter of that you're transferring over typically 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. It's kind of slow. Some scopes now have 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. It's a little bit faster, which is awesome. This one doesn't, so there you have it. It's slow. I actually did a test. I took a 1-minute video with this scope, and to transfer that to my phone in the app took 38 seconds. That doesn't sound like a lot, but if you had a 5-minute video, you can see where I'm headed, right? If you took a long video and there was 20 seconds of action that you wanted, you got to download that whole video. It takes a long time to get to your phone so that then you can trim it down and send it to your buddies or put it on social media. So that's where I'm headed with that. Additionally, I did some more testing. So 10 minutes of video is approximately 1 gigabyte. And this scope has 60 gigabytes of available internal storage after the scope has like its firmware and all that on it. So that would equate to 10 hours of video footage. That's fine. No issues there. Like 10 hours of video footage on this scope before you have to, you know, take any off is like, that's a lot. So I don't really see a problem with that. I think it's perfectly adequate amount of internal storage. Additionally, as far as cons go, guys, there's no good indexing point on this focus ring, okay? I like an index point, something I can kind of wrap my fingers around and like, you know, use it to pull kind of like a throw lever, but maybe bigger, bulkier. I really like having that, and this scope doesn't have it. What it does have is some pretty nice knurling kind of like grooves. It's good. It's not my favorite. I don't love bell housing focus rings, guys. I like the turn knobs up top. If you follow the channel, you know that about me, but as far as that goes, probably not like, it's certainly not a deal breaker. You can totally use it just fine. Someone could probably 3D print some type of ring you could put on here and use as like a throw lever. I find that I don't like reaching my hand up on the bell, trying to wrap my hand around this and use it to focus. You may be different, and that's cool with me. I don't really care. It's just my preference, and so I mention it as like a con for me. Another con on this scope is you could experience suppressor bloom. That's what I'm calling it anyway. That's not like a technical term. What that means is because this has a low base mag of 2.5x, when the scope's on base mag, depending on your barrel length, if you have like a 20, 22, 24 inch barrel plus a suppressor on the end, depending on the diameter of your suppressor, you might potentially see some heat bloom up in the bottom portion of your display. I don't like that. I don't want that in my video feed. I don't want it. I don't want to be seeing that when I'm looking through the scope. You may not care, but it's possible with this scope. Now, if you're running like an 18-inch barrel with a suppressor or something like that, probably not going to see that bloom, even at base mag. If you bump up to 3x, you're not going to see it no matter what. So it's really not a big deal. I kind of wanted to mention it because I'm seeing that trend. Like I'm seeing some other 2x scopes where you can really see that suppressor bloom, especially after you shoot. So like obviously we know that suppressor's not hot until you shoot. Once you shoot, that suppressor heats up and you start to get some of that bloom, and I just don't like the looks of it. And lastly, guys, as far as cons on this scope, it's going to be the audio. For me, I want super crisp, clean audio on my scopes. This scope is gonna come in at a 6 out of 10 for me, okay? If you want a reference point, my RH50R, I'm giving that a 9 out of 10 as far as audio goes. Very, very crisp, clean audio. So when I compare this to that, I'm at a 6 from a out of 1 to 10 rating. It's good, it's not great. It's not gonna get you really fine details in audio. Whispers aren't that awesome. Loud volume isn't that good with it. So like it's good, it's not great. It is far better than the Adder V1. Okay, so the first Adder's terrible audio. I probably would give those like a 2 or 3. So it's way better than the first generation Adders. It's, you know, it's usable, it's good. Most people don't even care if their scope has audio anyway, so I just like to mention that for the people that really do care. So lastly, guys, let's just talk about some of the physicality of the scope. I know I've mentioned the mount and, you know, the lens cover and stuff, but on the scope, you do have a rubber cover for the USB-C port. That's going to be for charging and data transfer. So that works, you know, really great. You can charge the scope entirely through that if you want. This turret up here has really nice, you know, tactile feedback clicks when you're turning it. It's really smooth. It's nice. The button click is very nice, tactile, easy to press, easy to use with gloves, things like that. These buttons back here. I hated the Adder V1 buttons back on the diopter focus, and I don't love the Adder V2s. They're better than the Adder V1s, but they're not my favorite. So why is that? Well, they're both the exact same shape. So this one up here is your power button, and if you just tap that, it's gonna put the scope into standby mode and shut your display off, which I found myself tapping that often when I didn't intend to. And what that tells me is that, you know, indexing on this is gonna be difficult, especially with gloves, things like that. So not my favorite button layout. And another thing they did is they put the microphone right here behind this button here. And guys, you know, we fumble around with these buttons all the time, which means now you're getting that like shh sound in your audio, and like that sucks. So don't really like that they put the microphone there. I would have liked to have seen it somewhere else, maybe off to the side, on one of the other sides, maybe on the bottom. I don't really know, just not a great spot for the microphone. And so these buttons up here, like I mentioned, this is your power button on top, and then over here you've got your video and camera button, and then over here you've got your laser rangefinder button. As far as laser rangefinding in this scope goes, you can have it on for individual clicks, and you can have it on for continuous. As far as continuous goes, the scope will allow you to go in 10-second increments up to, I believe, 60 seconds. So you cannot have like a full continuous LRF mode, but you can have 60 seconds, and then after a minute you got to click it again if you want to range. I don't see that as an issue, and actually I kind of like that. What you can't do with this, with laser range finding, is if you have ballistic calculation enabled in the scope will not let you have any type of continuous ranging at all. It must be in single click, single LRF mode when ballistic calculation is enabled. I don't like that. I like the scope to let me use my laser rangefinder however I want, and understand that when I'm in continuous mode, I'm not going to have ballistic calculation. But with this scope, you actually have to go into the menu, disable ballistic calculation, to then go back into the menu and turn on continuous laser rangefinding. And that's very, very like not user-friendly. It's slow. I don't like it. So I think AGM should really work hard with their firmware to maybe make it easier to swap between continuous and non-continuous when you're using ballistic calculation. So that's pretty much it, guys. I really do like this scope. I was a little hard on it, and there's a good reason why. It's $7,000. It came to market as kind of this top dog 1280 scope. I think as far as 1280 goes, the image is there, right? It's extremely crisp, very, very nice. Nothing bad to say about the image. Like I said, it's a little bit harsh for my eye, but you know, some of you guys might like that. I know there's a lot of features or settings within the scope where you can dial in that image. So, you know, you might be able to get it to be more pleasing to your eye. It's great. It's a beautiful, beautiful image. It's very, very impressive. The field of view is massive, okay? Like I had this beside a 3X Knockpix. and the field of view difference was just amazing. So if you want a wide field of view, this scope has it. It's very, very nice. One thing I think that's really cool about this scope that I think a lot of people aren't really mentioning is that you effectively have a 1280 2.5x scope and a 640 5x scope. You have literally both. You have 2.5x 1280, 5x 640, and that's awesome. It's kind of the best of all worlds. I do believe it's kind of a fits all scope. And so like for me, I prefer a 3x 640 scope. Well, guess what? I have a 2.5x 1280 and a 5x 640, and anything in between a 2.5 and 5x is going to be more than 640. And the scope allows you to dial in half increments. So you could go from 2.5x to 3x. So now you're at 3x at a way higher than 640 resolution. So I think a lot of guys are missing the mark there. I don't think they quite realize that like what the scope has as far as resolution at certain magnifications. So very, very cool. Very, very awesome scope, guys. If you're in the market for one of these scopes or any other thermal scopes, guys, hit up Logan at Fall River Shooters. Tell him Cody sent you. And until next time on the Hunt, guys, we'll see you later.